Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom, to Chiefs Latest, your one-stop spot for everything Kansas City Chiefs in 15 minutes or less. It is your host, Calvin Silver's Happy Wednesday. As we know, the Chiefs just have a couple more training camp sessions left, and not only that, their second preseason game of three is on Friday. So it's right around the corner. Things are moving pretty quickly now. The Chiefs trying to cut down to that 53-man roster. We have all the news and rumors for you here at Chiefs Latest, and we're about to dive into today's action. But before we do, you know the drill. If you're listening on YouTube, if you could go ahead and please hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. And if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other podcast platform, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. Once again, it just helps not only me and the channel, but it's going to help you stay up to date with everything Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to start with a recent signing that the Chiefs have done. They're shaking up the backfield. They're signing Michael Wiley before the second preseason game, and it's bad news for fan favorite Carson Steele. Now, Wiley was an undrafted 2024 free agent. He spent last season on the Commanders' practice squad after a futures deal, but he did get cut before the 2025 camp, allowing us to pick him up. His 5-year Arizona career in college, 1,712 rushing yards, 1,115 receiving yards, and 28 total touchdowns. So that just shows that he has, that dual threat flair. He has 123 catches. That highlights that pass catching knack that will fit greatly here in the scheme. Well, Wiley had an 8.02 relative athletic score. That ranked 350th out of 1,765 running backs since 1987. But again, you have Pacheco locked up as your running back one. Mitchell and Hunt are grabbing those second team carries. And rookie Brashard Smith, he's likely a roster lock. So Steele, again, is on the ropes. He's the odd man out in this situation. Again, he won hearts last year with his fiery style, but his regular season play really exposed some limitations. So again, that just makes him expendable. Wiley's signing, it feels more like a competitive depth test, but again, his receiving skills, that could give him an edge over Steele for at least a practice squad spot. Again, his college career, 336 carries, 1,712 yards, 16 touchdowns, 123 receptions, 1,150 yards, and 12 touchdowns. Again, his hands, nose for the end zone, I think that's going to complement Reed's screen schemes, likely needing to outshine Steele to again snag a roster or, worst case scenario, a practice squad spot. So his signing with his 28 college touchdowns, his pass catching abilities, I think that puts Steele's roster spot in jeopardy, as the Chiefs are trying to prioritize some versatile depth behind Pacheco, Mitchell, Hunt, and even Smith. So something to look out there for Steele. Again, a fan favorite, would hate to see him go, but it's a tough business out there, and I think he knows that as well. Well, we talked yesterday about the cornerback room, how it's off to a rough start. Christian Fulton, he's still limited by a knee injury. Jalen Watson, he's sidelined by a concussion from the first preseason game. So if both are out at some point again this season, leaning on Najee Johnson outside, Chamari Connor in the slot, that's a risky proposition, I think, for Spags defense. Again, I mentioned yesterday that Stephon Gilmore, Asante Samuel Jr., Rasul Douglas, those could be some names that you could bring in to help, but two more names stand out, and that's Kendall Fuller and Greg Newsome. Fuller was a Chiefs Super Bowl champ, as we remember, brings 104 career starts in 2024's 50 tackles and 7 pass breakups in 11 games with Miami. So again, offering some veteran stability, despite missing 6 games. Of course, we want someone that doesn't necessarily have an injury history or isn't coming off some sort of injury, but it is what it is. Newsome is a former Browns first rounder. His pass coverage chops with 14 pass breakups, 74.8 passer rating allowed in 2023. Again, Cleveland's in a shaky situation right now. I think that made a trade feasible. So again, Fuller's a plug-and-play versatility guy. You can get him off, free agency. Newsome's upside after a down year, that could shore up the secondary, but you would have to trade for that. But again, that would let McDuffie flex between slot and boundary. When looking at Fuller's stats, 50 tackles, 7 pass breakups, 1 fumble recovery, and 11 starts last season. If we're talking about his career, though, 128 games, 104 starts, 18 interceptions, and 78 pass breakups. Going to Newsome in last season, again, not his best season, 27 tackles, 5 pass breakups, 1 interception in 13 games. But 2023 at 14 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, and again, that 74.8 passer rating allowed. in his career. His snaps, 1,428 outside, and then in the nickel position, 1,163. So if we're looking just at how these two fit the scheme, again, Fuller's experience across slot, outside, and safety, those roles align with Spag's hybrid looks. And then not only that, he could mentor Connor, who's kind of filling that spot right now and playing that position anyways, and stabilize again the depth that we need. Newsome press skills, his inside-outside flexibility, that's going to lock down other teams' wide receivers, at least wide receiver number twos. That's going to complement McDuffie's versatility. So with Fulton and Watson banged up, Fuller's veteran savviness, Newsome's younger potential, I think those offer some critical secondary lifelines to keep the Chiefs' defense elite, something that has to happen, especially if we have some trouble in the wide receiver room. Hopefully, though, that doesn't follow us as bad. But speaking of the roster, who should make it between Sky Moore and Nico Remigio? I mean, the wide receiver room is a dogfight for those final two roster spots, and special teams guru Dave Tobe is going to back Nico Remigio. He's going to bat for him, and I like it. Dave Tobe's ringing endorsement. He said, quote, "Everybody knows how I feel about Nico. I love having a guy that you can depend on. He's solid and he's not going to cost you a game," end quote. And that just says it all for me. Remigio's versatility, not only as a returner, but as a depth receiver, paired with his mistake-free play, I think that gives him a clear edge over Sky Moore, who's become, honestly, a non-factor. Again, Remigio's 30.1 kickoff return average in the playoffs, including a 63-yard burst against Houston. He had a 44-yard return against Buffalo. It just proves that he's a game changer on special teams. Again, something that I think is that he does way better than what Sky Moore can. Tyquan Thornton's speed, that might lock up one spot, and I'm completely fine with that. But Remigio's return prowess, his reliability, that should clinch the other over Sky Moore. So if it comes down to those two, I'm going Remigio over Moore every time. Again, Moore, I haven't heard coaches back him up like Dave Tobe is for Remigio, and that says something to me as well. So again, just Dave Tobe's vocal support, Remigio's 30.1-yard playoff return average, that makes him a stronger bet to me than keeping Moore for that final wide receiver spot. Again, I just like that he has that special teams reliability. Again, as Dave Tobe said, he is not going to lose you a game. Someone like Sky Moore, I could see being more of a reliability. Well, let's just go ahead and talk about training camp because, like I said, only a few more left. So we'll talk about Tuesdays because, as you know, they are currently working right now. So Tuesday's fully padded practice. It was a defensive clinic. Usually we've been talking about the offense lately, but no, this was a defensive clinic. The defense led by Nick Bolton. He picked off Mahomes. Chris Jones had 2 would-be sacks. They own the day. They own the day. And not only that, reps are noting that Jones is in peak athletic shape, probably the best shape that he's been in his career. So we love to hear that as well. Well, the offense, however, as I mentioned, it stumbled. Missed time throws, couple drops. Again, Hollywood Brown still sidelined. Though he started running again, so there's that. But just not a good day for the offense. With Jalen Watson out, McDuffie and Najee Johnson, they manned the outside corners. Jamari Connor took the slot. And offensively, Chris Oladokun held QB3 duties. Again, we talked about it, I believe, on Monday's episode, about how Bailey Zappi just needs to be off this roster. Doesn't even need to be fighting for that QB3 spot after what we saw on Saturday. But Mahomes, he did spread the ball a little bit, but again, wasn't the best day. He did target Kelsey the most, but the lack of rhythm, that did raise some red flags for a unit that needs to gel before the Chargers in week 1. Again, Bolton and Jones, though, they're proving that the defense could carry KC once again if they need to, but the offense needs Hollywood Brown back to stretch the field. But if we do want to talk about Mahomes' targets today, again, Kelsey had the most with 4, Rice had 3, Hunt had 2, Tonyan had 2, Royals had 1, Smith-Schuster had 1, and Worthy had 1. But again, Oladokun's QB3 reps, that keeps him ahead of Zappi, and I'm happy for him, and I think that is well-deserved. So the defense, sparked by Bolton's interceptions, Jones' sacks, outshined a struggling offense in Tuesday's padded practice, but Brown's absence and the secondary adjustments signal, some work ahead. Well, that's all that I have for you guys here on this lovely Wednesday, almost there towards the end of the week. I can't wait to get there. I know you guys can't wait to get there. I know we can't wait to get to Friday to see the game. Well, as I mentioned, I am your host, Calvin Silvers, here at Cheifs Latest. Again, I read all your comments. I appreciate all the comments, so go ahead right now and let me know what you think about Carson Steele. Is he in trouble? Do we need more help in the secondary? Let me know your thoughts there and who you would like to see fill those spots. Who should stay between Nico Remigio and Sky Moore? And let me know what you've been feeling about camp or if you've even been out to camp. this year and let me know what you've experienced and thought there. Again, this is Cheifs Latest. If you haven't already, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever it may be, leave us 5 stars. And until next time, have a good one.